What's going on, guys? Thought I'd give you a little update on how things are going in my basement arcade and some of the updates and changeovers and stuff I did down here. That loud noise you're hearing in the background is my air conditioner. It's starting to pick up again heat-wise in Illinois, so we got the air on it, of course, because my basement isn't finished. The air ducts and air unit and furnace are very loud, so apologize for that. But I guess we'll talk about what I've been doing with my Street Fighter machine lately. I actually just picked up a CPS 14-in-1 for this Street Fighter cabinet. It's got a couple different versions of Street Fighter on there. It's got Final Fight, a hack of Final Fight, as well as like the first Mega Man, the power battles and stuff. Down here is actually where I keep my boards. I keep them wrapped up in the USPS priority mailboxes. They just seem to fit nicely for arcade boards. But I own Final Fight, I own a couple different versions of Street Fighter, and a couple other JAMA-based games. And I figured this board was on sale. I got it on JAMAboards.com, and I figured I'd take the opportunity to go ahead and pick it up, because having 14-in-1 is pretty nice. You don't have to pull the cabinet out and switch out the board. This one's a little difficult to actually pull boards out. You actually have to pretty much remove everything out of the actual arcade cabinet and pull it out, turn out the back side, and then put the board in. You can try to fit yourself through this coin door here, but it's not very easy, so it's kind of a pain. But some of the things I ran into is, even though the board is pretty much made out of a regular CPS-1 board with the main board and then the small board that actually runs the ROM, the kick harness is a little different. And this might be a little difficult to see, so let's see if we can do this here. But what I ran into was the kick harness I already had wired up for my Street Fighter was completely different. So what I ended up doing is taking the kick harness that this new board requires and just kind of sticking the connections together to get it to work. So after I did that, I just used a little electrical tape, and there you go, kind of a custom kick harness job there. So that's working kind of nice. It's a little jimmy rigged, but it works. But that's the actual board there. So that's a normal CPS-1 board, and I take it that secondary board actually loads the ROMs into it, so it's kind of emulation, but kind of not, so it's a little interesting. Basically, the way the actual cabinet works, or the actual board works, is it works off a coin-based system. You have to put a coin in first, and then it allows you to pick from an on-screen display. And what you do is you hold down this button here for about 5 seconds, and this menu will come up. And you can go through, as you can see, it has Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Three Wonders, Captain Commando, Final Fight, Mega Man, Magic Sword, Street Fighter 2 Red Wave, which is a bootleg, Street Smart, Final Fight Hack, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Knights of the Round, Good Side Scroller Phoenix, 3 Sword Masters, and Super Pang. So, a decent selection of CPS-1 Capcom titles. But the issue I ran into right away was you can't select a game until you put a coin in. And this cabinet was always set to free play. There was no actual free play button put in there. I really didn't want to drill anything out. But I started going through the JAMA harness and following things, and I noticed that these wires here were kind of taped off. And I followed down the harness, and sure enough, I found that these wires right here were actually used for the coin registry. So what I found out was the coin door return here actually still works, and it still has kind of a pointed edge to it. So what I did was I hooked up the thing with a normal cherry switch, as you can see here. Let's get a little light on it. So there, that little white thing there is the switch to actually make the wires do what it needs to do. And what I ended up doing was just took a little bit of super glued it to the side, so when you hit the coin ejector here, it actually hits the button on this and gets you going. So if you take a look here, see I got coins, so zapping that, and it increases my coin count. So pretty cool there. So yeah, you put your coins in, you hold your button down, select your game, hit it, and away it loads. And you can go through each game and actually set if it's free play, what the difficulty is, all that stuff. And you basically hit a button that saves it to the flash memory so it knows what the dip switch settings are. What you're hearing there is just my coin meter counting up. So it basically deposits all the coins when the game starts.
Round one, fight!
Make sure all the buttons on the harness still work here.
Round one, fight!
There. These are my different color buttons. There. Nice. But yeah, the thing is pretty cool. It's nice to have the 14-in-1, even though I kind of had to do some stuff with the kick harness. They also have a CPS 2 18-in-1, I believe it is, but they're hard to come by. That, of course, has loads of good stuff on there, which, of course, requires another kick harness. So eventually I may pick that up, but I don't know. Another thing I got working on over here, I don't remember if I actually did a video on this or not, but I went ahead and converted the Space Duel cabinet over to a full JAMA. It was MAME before, and went through and actually put a brand new JAMA harness in there, got a power supply for it. Had an issue with the power supply. It wasn't getting enough voltage because I didn't have the bottom switch turned on to do more than 4 volts. But overall, it was a pretty painless experience. I'm using a VGA, RGB to VGA converter, so instead of having an actual arcade monitor in there, the little board basically just converts the RGB signal from the JAMA to a VGA. So I got a nice computer VGA monitor in there. It looks pretty nice. Had to do some tweaking to get it working, but that was another piece I got off of JAMA boards. And the reason I wanted to switch this thing over to JAMA is because I have a Neo Geo motherboard that I actually got working again. And once I got that working, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and, instead of using it for the Street Fighter there, you know, the button layout isn't correct, I just wanted to turn this into a full-blown Neo Geo, especially because I got the button layout here. So that's what I did. The Neo Geo motherboard is in there, and I got a couple different Neo Geo MVS games, but for the most part, for easy switching, again, kind of like the Capcom CPS-1, I have a Neo Geo 161-in-1 cart here, and it's got a ton of stuff on there. It's got a lot of bootlegs, but for the most part, a good lineup of stuff is here. Of course, you got SNK versus Capcom. You got every King of Fighter and its clone that you can imagine, so that's like 30 of the games right there. Rage of the Dragons, which is awesome. Strikers, Aero Fighters, almost all the Metal Slugs, Super Sidekicks, all the Samurai Showdowns for the most part, Sengoku, Last Blade 2, Mark of the Wolves, which is kick-ass, Double Dragon, also kick-ass, Karnav's Revenge, Shock Trooper 2nd, which is really good, Ninja Commando, all sorts of good stuff. 3 Count Bout, which I guess is alright. Breaker's Revenge, which is my favorite. Pretty much all you do is select the game, hit the button, and it loads it up, which is pretty cool. So yeah, really, the only main machine I have is actually that, and I took out all of the Super NES ROMs and the NES ROMs because I've found at game nights that some of the stuff doesn't work, and I end up having to reboot the thing, so it's just easier to keep the MAME stuff on there. And unfortunately, shortly after I put the 14-in-1 in my Street Fighter cabinet, I ran into my first arcade casualty. And that would be my Donkey Kong Jr. cocktail cabinet. Unfortunately, the monitor died on me. I had vertical collapse. I talked to the guys over at Arcade Repair Tips and everything, and they went ahead and said that there were a couple different things I could look at. Thankfully, Jeff over at Arcade Adventures is actually going to look at the thing. But while I got this open, I figured I could kind of show you guys the inside of what a Donkey Kong Jr. cocktail kind of works like. So, let's see if we can get this unlocked here. Bear with me. go. So yeah, just to kind of show you around what a Donkey Kong Jr. looks like. What you're looking at right here is the second joystick, all the functions of that, and all the different power functions of the board itself. There's the power supply, there's the plug-ins, and there is the coin door and everything. So this thing is actually pretty big. And if it comes down to it, if that board can't get, or that TV or monitor rather can't get repaired, I may convert this thing into a 60-in-1. I actually hate to do that. I'd rather keep this thing original, but if it comes down to it, that may be the route I may take. But hopefully it's not going to come to that. But here's a little interesting tidbit of information. When I was reading up on the actual Sanyo monitors for this thing, it's important to note that the power supplies for these monitors only run at 100 volts. So if you got a Nintendo monitor or a Sanyo monitor, it looks like it has normal plugs. Do not plug it into a wall. From what I read, you could actually blow out the monitor by plugging it into a normal 110 volt power supply. So only plug it into that plug there, and you see AC 100 volts. Don't plug your Sanyo monitor into 110 or it'll probably toast it, and then you'll have more damage than you started with. So don't do that. Even Arcade Repair Tips really didn't say anything about that. I'm kind of glad that I read up on that before I did anything, but yeah. So hopefully we can get this thing back up and running. I'm hoping. If not, I'll make do with it somehow. But that's pretty much all I got from the arcade room for now. Just thought I'd share a couple updates. So peace, guys.